Aggressive mini cuts part 2, how I went from this to this in 28 days. Now somehow in the last video I completely neglected to talk about how many calories I was eating. I told you about my fats, I told you about my protein, but my calories were non-existent. So how many calories was I actually consuming during this time? Well, it ranged anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 dependent on the day. I was also doing 1 to 2 hours of low intensity cardio. So you can imagine I was in a pretty good deficit, probably somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 calories per day. And I know you've been told that aggressive cuts will lead to more muscle loss, but this is only if you are not following the steps in this last video that I told you about. This is not me saying everybody should go this aggressive in their cut, that's just what I did and it works well for me. But I'm not some genetic anomaly where this will only work for me. Two people that you might know that I've taken this through are Joseph Abel and So no, this isn't some process that only a few people can do, but I would still heavily recommend you think hard about it before attempting. Now, the most common argument that people give me about going with this low of calories is that they tried it before and it didn't work well for them because they had low energy, poor sleep, etc. However, if you are making sure to eat from nutrient-dense foods, as mentioned in the last video, this will significantly mitigate those issues. And as we talked about before, if you are running into significant issues, get out early. Don't feel like you have to go through this full time frame just because you set it out ahead of time. Also, most of these issues that people run into come from the fact that they tried to stay in it too long rather than get in, get out. That's the mentality that you need to go into for an aggressive cut. Also, in the last video, we talked about protein and fat, but we didn't talk about carbs. Now, the only purpose I have for carbs in an aggressive cut is just to give myself energy for workouts. That means the only carbs that I consume are pre-workout, maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 to 300 calories worth. But 300 is on the high end, 100 is more normal. And if you're wondering what to consume pre-workout, things that I have found work really well for me and others are a banana and a Rice Krispie treat. Probably the next most important thing about aggressive dieting that I did not mention in the last video was keeping your electrolytes in check. A lot of people when they go into this will not raise their electrolytes and therefore will run into brain fog, energy issues, etc. If you find yourself running into any of these issues, make sure that your sodium, your potassium, and your magnesium are all in place, because these things can make it a lot harder for you to get through this aggressive deficit without muscle loss. And just overall, if your electrolytes are not in place, you are going to be miserable during this process. And these are the most important things when it comes to the process of aggressive mini cutting. If you have any questions, drop them below. Feel free to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. TNFO.